What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Corner Blue, episode 32. I'm Andres Rico, and I'm here with Hugo Alvarado, and we just wanted to break down the Gold Cup. It's been a week or so since the end of the tournament. You know, we've had time to digest a little bit, and at the same time, we wanted to reach out to someone either on the squad or in the coaching staff so we could hear firsthand kind of what went on during those games, the strategy used, the methodology, the mentality, the mindset with which this tournament was approached, because it's a Gold Cup leading to the octagonal, and you could approach it several ways. And fortunately enough, we were able to chat with Gerson Perez, assistant coach of the men's national team and recent signing to be the U20s head coach. We sat down with them this week and we were able to chat a little bit about the Gold Cup that was. And I know you've been following the latest news breaking out of the Netherlands. Do you mind talking to us what went down today?
As a lot of people probably know by now, Enrico Hernandez was named, or it was made public today that he's going to be playing for FC Eindhoven in the Eredivisie, which is the second division in the Netherlands, a move that I have been aware about. I would say it became more real within the last week. So it's been in the works, and Enrico had interest from other clubs as well within the last month. And he was keen on staying with the club, with Vitesse, and Vitesse wanted him to stay as well. So he, continued working on the preseason with Vitesse. He got a good amount of minutes with the club. But, towards the end, the last couple of games with Vitesse, the friendlies, which, that's kind of when the coaches start using their starting 11, he didn't see as many minutes as he had wished for. So the possibility of maybe accepting one of the offers from any of those clubs came about. And again, from from my personal relationship with Enrico, I know that it was not something that Vitesse wanted to do, but towards the end since Monday, actually this week, so it's just been a couple of days, everything has moved very quickly. His representatives, his agent and his father met with Vitesse and basically asked for that move to take place because FC Eindhoven was really after Enrico. They had gone to see him play in the friendly matches. They already knew him from the U19. They were actually viewing his trainings as well with Vitesse. So it was very clear that they had a high interest in having him be part of the club, be an important part of the club. And as a lot of people should know by now, the most important thing that a footballer, a soccer player, wants is to play. If you don't play, you lose a lot. You lose rhythm, value. There's a whole lot of things that go with not playing. And obviously, everybody wants to be part of a first division team. But when given an option between being in a first division team, possibly being on the bench a few times during the season, maybe getting some minutes, but for the most part, maybe not having a lot of opportunities versus here's a team, if I go one level down, that really wants to count on me to be in the starting 11, you're going to take that opportunity. And I think that's important to understand. And I applaud Enrico's decision for many reasons. One is that it shows that he has the courage to take a risk and make this move to get some minutes and be in good rhythm for the national team. The other factor that is important to know is that Enrico signed his professional contract with Vitesse in December 2020. So he's only been part of the team for 6 months with the first team. He already made his debut in the first division, in the cup. they had signed him until June 2023. So we're looking at 2 more years. They signed him for 2.5 years. So part of the agreement this time was, all right, we'll let you go on loan, but you need to renew with us for another year. So Vitesse didn't really have to do that. He still has 2 years with them, but they value him enough to give him another year until June 2024. And to me, that speaks a lot about the vision that Vitesse has for Enrico. And the other factor is that they do hold the rights to retrieve him in January next year if they wish to do so. So I think it's a good move for him. Obviously, there's no guarantees that he's going to play, but the team really wants him, and his chances of playing are much, much higher. And I think it's a good move for him. Whether some fans may see it as a step back, I don't see it that way. I think everybody should keep in mind the priority of a soccer player is to play. If you don't play, those 2 years or year and a half contract, whatever you have, is going to run out and you're going to be without a contract. And the only chances of possibly getting a new contract with anyone else is to play. So I think it was the right decision at this point.
Yeah, in a sense, you can understand, some of the disappointment of the fans, and also Enrico's kind of, anxiety or the urge to look for minutes, for better horizons, considering that he did decide, to go through the preseason. He was definitely amped and looking forward to breaking the first team or getting more consistency. And like you said, I think this is the closest to a win-win in terms of what the next step for Enrico would be, which is getting those minutes, securing that time on the field, rather than speculating as to when his next set of minutes would come. So good for him. Shout out to him in case he hears this. I know, you're in touch with them a lot. So yeah, good news coming out of the Netherlands in that respect. And then moving along, ladies and gentlemen, the interview that we had this week, it was a long time coming in the sense that we've been trying to reach out to members of the coaching staff or players since Hugo Perez has arrived. It hasn't been the easiest of ventures and whatnot, but Gerson graciously agreed to chat with us. Hugo was busy at the time, so I was the one to do the interview, but we're going to get into it. And Hugo, I know you listened to the interview. Do you mind doing a brief intro for the listeners?
Yes. Fortunately, it seems like I have this thing with whenever we have someone from the coaching staff where there's always something. In this case, I had some family matters to attend to, and I missed that interview. I have listened to the interview and take a listen. It's great to hear about his path to becoming a coach, the different options that the people have when you have a passion and love for something, for the sport. Listen to the interview so that you can have that experience and listen from him. So without further ado, here's Gerson Perez.
Since the regime change, I don't want to call it regime, but since the change, it's been a little tricky trying to get access to players. So yeah. I'm definitely stoked that we'll be able to talk with you. It's been fun talking to your dad. I talked to him like a month before, back in September. So he wasn't even thinking about, the possibility of coaching in El Salvador at all.
No.
Yeah.
I think it all happened fast.
Yeah. And at that time, he even told me, right now with how things are, I wouldn't recommend, it's hard for me to recommend players to go and play in El Salvador. I wouldn't even send my kid to play. And then flash forward and boom, you're the head of the U20. So it's crazy how everything has worked out. And just to start off, could you just give us some background on what your career has been like? What have been the steps leading up to this point?
So Look, early, I've been coaching probably about almost 17 years now. Here in the Bay Area, obviously. With my dad's playing career, we moved a lot, so we didn't really grow up playing in academies and tournament leagues, all that. So, myself and my older brother, I think, got our playing career started a little late. A lot of street soccer growing up everywhere we were. But no formal training. I think tail end of my dad's career, I think he was burned out. He wasn't that into us playing either. So we kind of navigated our own way. We ended up going to USF. I ended up going to University of San Francisco. Was going to look to walk on. Nobody had ever seen me play because I wasn't on the team. And I kind of realized there that, game was different, right? A structured game was different than a street game. I think all of us in the family, I think it's a Perez thing. I think I even mentioned it with some players during this trip of how I think we're all pretty technical, right? I think it's a genetic thing probably, but very good on the ball. Every player, everyone in our family has been a 10, an attacking mid. But the structured game was different for me. So I struggled with that at 18. And then at around 19, 20, still playing the local semi-amateur leagues in the city. The Cal Victory USL team popped up in San Francisco. I was on the training squad with the 24, 25 players, but, never really broke out of that. And then also, coming from our background, you can kind of, what's going on, right? If you're going to make it or not. You could be a struggling player until you're 25 and 25 different teams, or you could dedicate yourself to something else, right? Because by that point, it's late. So I started coaching. U9, U10 team in Marin. I was still going to school. I was getting my bachelor's, so I'd finish school twice a week. I'd drive up, run the session for the team. Then they wanted to give me another team, so I took 2 teams, and that started to be my income as I was a student. So I started to do that as a student, finished my bachelor degree, and then decided I wanted to kind of make a jump to probably a bigger club. So I was at Mustang in 2009. After I graduated, I went to Mustang Club, which is in Danville. I was there 3 years, still learning. I was young, but by that point, I think I was 21. I already had my B license with US Soccer. So I had done a lot of early stuff in terms of coaching education. And then, I would shadow coaches as much as I could. I'd run sessions for free. I'd pick up cones, whatever I needed to do to kind of get an eye for what other coaches were doing. Around 2009, 2010, I think my dad gets, his technical advisor role with US Soccer. So I would follow and tail whatever they were doing, training centers they would run. I was there watching. And my appetite started to grow for it. I think my idea was to go into some sort of business sports management with my degree. But, little by little, coaching took, 2 teams, 3 teams, started doing full time. In 2012, I moved to a club in the Peninsula, Mountain View, Los Altos Soccer Club, VLA. Albertine, who's the director there, had seen me kind of work with my dad at some of the training centers, wanted me to come in and help them build the boys side. So I moved there. It's also a big club here, big girls club. Now it's starting to gain a lot of boys stuff too. But so I did that. At 2012. Still 26 years old. And then in 2014, Juventus Academy was one of the new academies coming into the US Soccer Federation. And they needed a director with at least a B license, and had to go and take his A license. So I took that on part-time, got my A license in 2014. And then from there, things kind of progressed pretty fast because the academy started to grow. It was a very competitive academy in the U.S. Soccer Development Academy League. So, I ended up moving there full time in 2016.
And that was
And
in Redwood City, or what?
that's the one in Redwood City.
Mm-hmm.
So, we came on, with the owner, the president of the club. They wanted me to take it on full time. It was a fully funded, free academy. And part of it was also U.S. Soccer wanted me to do it full time because at that point they were starting to really roll out the U.S. Soccer Academy Director license, which is the one above the A. So they select 30 candidates every year. So you can't apply for it; they select you. I think the first one, my dad was on that pilot course in 2013. So that was kind of how they were testing it. And then in 2015, I think they released the first one. So they selected 30 candidates. And those candidates, you'll have all the national team coaches usually there, right? A lot of MLS guys right now. The following year, I take it with a few guys. It's a 1-year course, right? So it's a long course. I think it's about 8 trips, 2 to Europe, the rest all over the country. But I was in there with a lot of guys running Red Bulls now. Luchi Gonzalez, who's the FC Dallas head coach right now. So a lot of, MLS guys, national team guys. So, that really kind of helped me network a little bit and also, see what the national teams were doing close up. We were with the national team, 17s, 20s, at least 6 weeks, 8 weeks out of the year, shadowing them, watching individual development programs that they were doing, kind of the player pool you saw at the Gold Cup, right? Even the one that won the Nations League. Yeah, we were kind of with them before they went to Europe. Josh Sargent, Costa, all those guys, right? So, Hoppy. So, it was good for me to see, but that's kind of how I started, in this role, and as an academy director in the way we ran the academy, I was doing a lot of the coaching, head coaches that would help with certain teams, but in terms of curriculum, methodology, style of play, scouting networks, all of that is what you have to build. That's what U.S. Soccer does in that license, right? It helps you kind of build that and organize it well so that you can bring it back to your club. In 2017, my dad, I think, was working in LA. I was able to secure a budget to bring him back here to the Bay Area. I needed another experienced coach. I needed a coach who we didn't have to, babysit, who understood what we were trying to do. Because believe it or not, sometimes, coaching education, in terms of how you want to play is not, you're not going to find usually a lot of coaches like that, right? Especially with the licenses that U.S. Soccer required. And so bringing him in was a big part. So we brought him in 2017, to start to help us build the academy program. We ran the program until basically COVID, right? Once COVID hit, U.S. Soccer shuts down, and a lot of changes in the youth soccer landscape. And that I don't want to say control, but the eye that U.S. Soccer had, empowering the directors, making it very, how would I put it, qualified people running it was good, right? Because that's how you're seeing the Pulisic, the McKinney's, because the quality of people that started to run it, was really focusing on the right things. So you weren't dealing with the youth landscape where, there's 5 board members, 3 accountants, and 1 mom and a cousin, right? And it's like, oh, I'm going to fire a coach, and that's what U.S. Soccer was really good at, right? In terms of filtering through all that and saying, hey, Jared said, look, this is the program. We're getting this complaint, or what do you need, right? And they were very supportive of that. So I have to give U.S. Soccer a lot of credit in that because, I think we've taken a step back in the youth landscape, even with the MLS platform, just because it's back to, the wild, wild west of things, right? And everybody's just kind of trying to survive and be on the platform. But there's very little governance, right? Because MLS, they only care about the 25 MLS clubs. U.S. Soccer is for everybody. So it needs to make sure all of its representatives are doing the right thing because they want to see those players develop, right? Because they know not everybody's going to play in the MLS system, especially at the younger ages sometimes. So, all of that was good, but it kind of led us into this, right? So we're in the middle of kind of going through the COVID stuff. Obviously, at our club with after U.S. Soccer, a lot of board changes. Program wasn't being run the way we wanted to run it anymore. Nobody to talk to just because the governance structure was gone. So my dad was starting to feel a little frustrated in terms of the work he was doing. And so was I, right? Because we had been running this academy for 5-6 years. And everything we would do, we'd run it with U.S. Soccer next to us saying, hey, this is what we want to do. What do you think? We want to get this vision out. We want to provide funding. This is how we want to do it. So, I think you'd probably talk to my dad in September, right? And then I think he gets a call in November for the 20s. And I think, it's funny how things work out, right? Because of his frustration with kind of what was happening at our club, he kind of told me, I think I have to do this. And, he wasn't getting paid anything really, I think. All right. So it's like, I'm just going to do it. I need you to cover me. I need you to cover sessions. I said, go for it. Do it. Right. So after Christmas, I think Diego Enriquez sorts everything out. Okay, get the 20s and then we'll do the 23s in March. All of a sudden the 20s get canceled because of COVID again. So, he goes into the 23s. And I'm left at the club trying to put pieces together. And that's why I told you it's funny how it works out because, believe it or not, the club we're in kind of looks at it as an opportunity to put their own people in. And you can imagine, how that goes over to the players because they're saying, national team coach, current national team head coach, he's supposed to come back and you want to make changes. All right. So it starts this whole flurry of changes at the club. So I tell my dad, I think I'm done too. Right. So, he says, come over March 14th to Mexico and let's try and do this right. So, I kind of, because we're in the middle of COVID still in March, right? Because it's amazing how in 4 months things change, but teams weren't playing games. So basically, the players that were with us said, hey, can we just start a training program? So we started a training program for them and we told them in the summer, we'll find you a home. And, I'm going to go to Mexico with the 23s. So, we did that. We arranged all the training here. I think we did okay at the 23s. It was tough because there wasn't a lot of time to work with the teams. But I think, our goal was always 4 points, right? It was, can we get 4 points and then see how the group goes? And we ended up with the 4 points, but, 5, I think Canada and, who's the other? Canada and Honduras. I think they end up with 5 as well. So, they go up in first to second place, and then from there, my dad comes back and, he's going to take the 23s and the youth program and he's asking me what I want to do. At that point, I'm thinking, I think I've done everything I can for everybody here. I also need to kind of move on. I already had talked to U.S. Soccer probably in 2019, while this was going, asking if, with the U15s, with the U17s as assistant roles. I was talking to a couple of the head coaches. I was speaking to a couple of MLS clubs, because I was also thinking, I wanted a change, right? I wanted I wanted to do something different. My kids are still young. So if we're going to move, I figured we would do it now and kind of, get that experience under my belt. So, I was doing my own kind of path, right? Because the network I had created with U.S. Soccer is completely different than my dad's. I think my dad had disconnected from U.S. Soccer already. So I had, spoken to Tab Ramos. I spoke to Marcelo Nevelef in Orlando. I spoke to Seattle Sounders a little bit, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So after this changes, in March of this year, in April, I think my dad gets the call that, the head coach had resigned, that if he was interested in starting right away for the 2026 World Cup. So, my dad and I think late April, early May, we're having these conversations on, kind of what the 2026 cycle looks like, when I can join the team. And I think we figured it all out. I was going to join May 30th. So that's when we kind of start, right? That's the first FIFA date. That's when we get all the players in. So I showed up that first day. And here we are. So, I think it's funny how things work, because it seems doors were shutting down here. We're probably have to do something new. And then this opened up. And thankfully we had some success where we were able to continue. But at the same time, right, 2026 cycle kind of all of a sudden turns into a 2022 cycle, right? Because now you're talking Gold Cup, and now you're in the new hex format, right, with the octagonal. And yeah, it's a big change. But a lot of the coaches started to ask me, like, hey, why weren't you in USL? Why weren't you doing this before? And the landscape here, is different, right? Because the academy U17, U19 was a very really high level of play. And the way US Soccer ran it, you were really competing against all these MLS players you're seeing now. MLS coaches that are currently coaching in the MLS now, right, in this academy system. You're training 4 or 5 days a week. And the academies were paying more than the USL teams, right? So, you go to a USL team, you live in the middle of nowhere. Your family can't live off that, right? So it just depends. So,
yeah, Panorama seems a little unstable with the format changes to the different tiers and all that. Yeah.
So, but the what the academy, I think, what US Soccer had accomplished was you were getting the best coaches in the country at 17 and 19, basically, with the best players, and it was almost like the third division, right? You had the second division, which was USL, but really the third division to us was always kind of this academy, because this is where the younger guys were. These were the guys that were going to sign MLS. Luckily in the US, in most states, you can make a living off of it. So that's why, we were in it, right? Because it was such a high level. But also what comes with that was the learning process, the scouting process, the video analysis that you have to do with US Soccer, the player positioning, the player profiles that you're building, right, when you're looking. So all of that really prepares you for kind of what we're doing now, right? Even though it is a big step in terms of national team, right? When you're preparing a game to play Mexico, Tata Martino, you're seeing, I don't want to say it's similar, because in reality it's very similar, but the level of execution of the teams is just a different notch, right? Even with our team, right? The level what these players can do, and the amount of times they can get things right is what separates those players. But in terms of preparation, I think the academy, what US Soccer had set up, really prepared a lot of current pro coaches now through that system, which is great to see, and something I think Diego wants to get going in El Salvador too.
Yeah, it's like you guys have had this preparation with youth development. You get sent to El Salvador, and because of, I guess, that void of a structure, it seems very, very apropos or very positive that you guys, with your preparation, with your careers and how that's been, that you guys have been able to go there, and it'll be great to see how that translates into El Salvador. And your dad's mentioned how the country's so small that it should be a place where you can implement something, especially since there's been years of just no structure, just disorganization, lack of professionalism, that something can be set up considering, the size of the country. And so now, do you think, how far do you think is US Soccer from going back or correcting some of the changes that have happened because of COVID, or for whatever reason most recently?
I think they decided to let the youth thing go.
Okay.
Right. I think what
for
they
financial reasons, because of COVID, or
they said it was financial. I think they were at a point where they knew the MLS teams would take the rest of the development. MLS did take all the other academies, and it's kind of run the same way. But I think what's different is that US Soccer represents every youth club in the country. MLS only represents the MLS. right? So I think that's the biggest difference. Now, I think U.S. Soccer feels confident that the best players will be kind of funneling up to the MLS system, and that's where they're going to be able to see most of these players. So I think what U.S. Soccer did was good. I don't know, I'm not in the MLS system anymore. I know when we started, I was helping out with committees and trying to figure out how to improve it. But it's definitely different because, at the same time, I think MLS U.S. Soccer had set up a direct correlation with their coaching education program. And I think what really, what the changes you see now in U.S. Soccer, even in this big player pool you're seeing that they have, that's good. It's just been the byproduct. And I mean, people can say the academy was this, it was that. It could be true, but having to educate all the coaches that you're bringing in, right, with a B license and A license, because that's the minimum standard for you to be part of the academy, was absolutely the right thing to do. And then every director having to have an academy director license to be eligible, right, to be a director at the academy level. That also was a big difference because then, from there, that 1 year course, right? How many courses are 1 year? You're learning, you're going to Europe, you're watching a Werder Bremen, you're watching the German Federation, how they do it. You're watching the Belgian Federation, how they're doing things, right? You're at a club in Denmark that's small. You're at a club in Germany that's big, right? So you kind of get the perspective of what development is and how it's structured. So I think empowering all these directors to help coaches, those coaches helping players, is kind of what's burst in terms of all these players coming out all of a sudden, right? Because if you looked at it, every training environment, at least for the top coaches, top directors, and you knew who they were, the training environment was very high. And, doing that 4 or 5 days a week only improves the player drastically, right? And then from there, your top players were moving to MLS. MLS players were getting those, MLS teams were getting those players ready to compete, right? They're picking the best of the best. Yeah, they have their own competition, which was the GA Cup, all the things they had. So it kind of set U.S. Soccer up in a good way. I don't know what's going to happen in terms of what the new league looks like, and time will tell kind of where they're at with that. But right now, I think right now they're set up. I think they have enough quality coming in, and even if you go to U15, there's a lot of players coming out right now.
So the transition's been that MLS has increased its academy reach or its development through its own academies rather than depending on youth clubs throughout the country.
Yeah, they have their own systems now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Minimum U15. MLS Next basically absorbed all the clubs and created a league. And MLS has to approve who comes into their league and whatnot, sort of while U.S. Soccer had it. But I think the difference still is, U.S. Soccer had people on the ground that knew, who the coaches were, right? You had a guy here on the West Coast who knew everybody here, who would say, yeah, this is the person doing this. So I think U.S. Soccer won't have that control anymore. I think they've given that over to the league, basically. And at the same time, it's not the federation's job to develop players. It's their job to maybe help develop programs, but the clubs have to develop the players. And those are the ones responsible for, the players in the pipeline now. It's been the clubs. It never was the league. But I think in terms of coaching education and all that, I think U.S. Soccer, with their programs they had brought on, I think you're seeing that new wave of players.
How do you think that could translate into the landscape in El Salvador? Because obviously the whole process or the whole structure of development, players, coaches, style is pretty much non-existent in terms of having something uniform throughout the country. It seems that with Enriquez at the helm and bringing you and your dad in, that there's this, at least this hope of going into a different direction. Now with your naming as the U20 coach, how does that fall into that plan or process? Is there something bigger that you guys are working on, or is this just the next step in terms of figuring out, at least national team wise, of creating a structure?
No, I think this is two things, right? One, the success of the men's side has kind of put us, like I told you, in this 2022 thing, right? But but at the
That
same
fine
time,
line,
yeah, because you have to focus on these next 14 games, and at the same time, you're trying to still put a structure in, right? So Diego's doing a good job of kind of continuing that structure. What we wanted, was kind of model it almost how the U.S. had done it, right? Because back in 2008, 2009, the sky was falling here, right? With U.S. soccer, oh my God, we're not developing, it's not enough. But slowly, time enabled things to happen the way they set it up. And I think with Diego, we're trying to do the same thing, is at least set up, a structure in El Salvador where we can at least see the top talent every week. See if that training environment they're in can improve. More of kind of what the national team does. It doesn't have to be the same style, but at least the training quality, should be of the same intensity, maybe. If we could set that up in the country, that'd be a good start. The second piece, was, when I spoke to Hugo Carrillo, the president, it was setting up coaching education, kind of what we're doing with the national team, but what we also do with the youth side. What we're looking for in a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old player. When does that structure come in, right? Because at the same time, we're a country of a lot of technical players. You can't take that away, right? You can't structurize things too early. You still want that street football element. And then now, if you could provide a structure where they can start being seen at 13, 14, 15, having them play against the best players, taking them to outside international events, that starts to give them experience once they get to the 17s, the 20s national team, right? Instead of having a team that's never been out at 17, 20, first international game. Even our men's side now, you see a lot of guys less than 10 caps, right? And they're playing in a Gold Cup against a very, very experienced Mexico side, right? And you probably can notice
Asian
in the
champion,
first half. Yeah. I mean, you notice in the first half, in those bigger games, how it was, a little slower.
Mm-hmm.
It's normal. You can't expect more out of a player this is his first real test internationally. So, it's all goes hand in hand in terms of what you do with the younger players. So that's kind of what we were trying to figure out. And then also seeing what the Mexican Federation was doing here, which was identifying Mexican American talent, having Mexican American training centers. Then from there, having just a Mexican American US based training camp, right? So now you have the Mexican staff coming here, identifying 2004 players, let's say, and then saying, okay, these 3 are actually good enough to come to Mexico with this group. And then taking those guys to an international event, you start to build almost double the player pool. And I don't care what anybody says. If you have double the player pool, you're eventually going to find a very good player. Right. So exactly. It's just normal. Right. So if we're a country of 7 million in El Salvador, add whatever the population is here, you're doubling. And now you have double the players. And odds are you're going to find, a piece that might be special. Right. So it's only natural to do it. And I also think, there's a lot of talk about, the Salvadoran American player going over. Is it too much? I think it's different for us, right? It's not, I don't see it as you're, what is it called? Nationalizing a foreign guy. You're really not, right? You here in LA, in San Francisco and DC,
Houston,
you really grow up a Salvadorian, right? And when they ask you where you're from, you say El Salvador. You don't say I'm American.
Yeah.
Right. And then if they confuse you with the Mexican, you're the first one to say, no, I'm Salvadorian. Right. It's like, so it's really embedded in our culture here. So that's why I think the players that went fit in well, because they're used to the lingo, the food, the sayings, right? The puchica, it's all part of how you grow up. So I for the way I see it, it's probably because I'm Salvadorian American, right? But I look at it as we're all Salvadorian. We just happen to live here because they moved us here. Yep. Something we can do. Yeah. So I think that's been why it's integrated, right? I think when you talk about other countries of how they've brought in other players, like France and it, yes and no, right? Because a lot of them don't grow up with that French culture, right, or whatever country they're playing for. They don't grow up with that culture. I think us is different because we actually grow up in the culture, especially if our parents moved here from there, right? Maybe if they're born here, kind of third generation, I could maybe see the disconnect. But the second generation, which is what you're seeing now with Roldan, with Josh, with Walmer, Amando, these guys are all very in tune with the culture. And I think that provides a good balance for the players moving over there.
I think also it helps too that your dad was born in El Salvador, so the locals or locally born players can look up to him up to a certain point, and then also you're there almost as a bridge too with the Salvadoran American players. So it seems like there's like this good fit in terms of like the spectrum of being Salvadoran. And going onto that aspect, could you break down with us a little bit what this Gold Cup meant for you guys in terms of, what was at stake for you guys, the importance of it, or basically your approach to the tournament, whether it was you guys were aiming high, how far did you want to push the team? How much was it basically like glorified exhibition matches or matches to prep the team for the Octavo Nine? What was the approach to this tournament?
Look, I think the games leading to that were the ones where we were tinkering with stuff, right? Even when we go to Croatia, the 3 30-minute periods, we play 3 different lineups, 3 different formations, 3 different objectives. Those are the preparation matches. Against Qatar, we played it pretty much how we would play a Gold Cup game. And I don't know. And this is where we talk about that Salvadoran American thing, right? I think what separates the American player is the mentality that he's going to win no matter what. He's going to find a way to win. And you really see that even at the academy level, how that separates the top player. A program in El Salvador asked me, what's your goal for the Gold Cup, right? It was for me, it was a funny question because I said, we're here to win. And I don't see how you can be competitive and successful if you go to an event saying, I'm not going to win, but I'm here to prepare and get in it. That already, one, sends the wrong message to the players, sends the wrong message to the coaching staff. It already makes you not believe in what you're doing. Every game you approach it to win, right? And if you can win every game you approach and you happen to advance, you might find yourselves in the quarters and the semis. And then you're almost there to win the whole thing. So in reality, for us, it was to win it. And I know there was other secondary objectives, right? But the first one is aim very high. Mm-hmm. If you miss it, you'll still end up in a good spot. So I think the approach has to be to win it. Even going into the qualifiers, your approach has to be to make the World Cup. That has to be the approach. So I think our mindset was that. And again, and I don't know if it's the Salvadoran American side, whatever it is, but it's how you have to approach every game. It's how you have to approach everything. We're here to win, right? I don't care who you are. I don't care who we're lined up against, even against the Mexico side, right? We're there to beat Mexico. We're there to take first place out of the group. We weren't there to have a good showing. We weren't there to see. No, we wanted to see obviously how we were going to compete against a very experienced side, and 2 was we want the group, right? Whatever it is that we need to do, we want to take this group. And again, that was, I think, our approach, at least from the staff side. And I think the players also saw it. That's how they believe, right? Well, if they think we can win, and they are giving us this confidence, then, we're going to win, right? So, that fighting spirit you see is just, I think if we don't believe we can win, we don't have a second half the way we did against Mexico and Qatar, exactly. Right? We lay down, we go, hey, we finished our job, we won our 2 games, let's just go home and prepare now. And I don't think that's the right mindset. So I think we have to approach everything to win. Then if we don't win, then you take the secondary objectives where minutes, experience for everybody, experience, minutes, positions, players. You take those secondary objectives, but after the result, really. And
I had a quick question in terms of formations. I I've seen you on Twitter how you've mentioned how when it comes to formations during a match, it's not something that is basically set throughout the whole match. It's something that's fluid throughout the game, the situation. Could you talk to us a little bit about Qatar, the match against Qatar in the quarters, and how the formation changed? Obviously, you guys had to try something different out with Narciso not being in the lineup.
Look, I think you make changes based on your rival. And we knew Qatar's transition was what was going to hurt us. Right. We thought if they decided to play a possession-based game, we were okay with that. But where we knew they could hurt us was going to be the transition. So, we didn't change much. I think the only thing we did, Roldan, his whole life has been an 8 and a 6. I think they don't know that, right? But in Seattle U, growing up in LA, playing with Crossfire PDL, he's always been a midfielder. It wasn't until Schmetzer played him in a 3-5-2 as a right mid that he started to play in that role. But he's not really a right back. Right? It's not his original position. So we knew with Alex we could play him somewhere in the middle. We figured him having speed could help stop the transition piece. Darwin does a good job in terms of winning balls there, tackling. So that was the only change, I think, really. And then with Armando, we wanted to press him a lot in the first half, so we wanted some speed up top with Joaquin pressing. So that was kind of our idea. And then having Monterrosa come in with a slower game maybe and giving us that pause, that possession, right, in a more controlled game. I think the way we started kind of throws everything out the window in terms of what your objective was. And you're just trying to fight your way back into the match. So I think that's what it was. But in terms of formations, I think we have a base of what we do in terms of a 4-3-3. But whether an 8 drops slower to create a double 6, that happens more fluid. You build that in a 3-4-3. I think if you notice all our games, Cacho is the third guy in the build out, right? Larin. So you essentially are playing a 3-4-3 because he's staying in that 3-4-3. And the only reason you do that is because most teams are pressing you with 2, right? So 3 versus 2 in the first phase. And that's how you're going to have a clean out. And for us, having that clean out and the build out kind of lets us control the game more by getting into the opponent half with numbers, sitting there, stopping counters, which is what we did against the Caribbean teams, right? Was cut their counters as quickly as possible. We knew that's what they wanted, which is where you see the 500 plus passes a game. You can see a 60% possession game. We don't want to have possession in our half. We're trying to go over there in the opponent half and play. So that's kind of where you see it, right? You see our wingers come in. It turns into a 3-5-2. So formations is, I think, people get fixed on what it was, and it's really fluid. It's just more of assignments of, look, this is a space. Who's going to take it? Is it the 9 or is it the winger, right? They're pressing us with 2, so we need 3. Who's going to be the 3? Is it going to be the 6? Or is it going to be the outside back, right? Or is it going to be an 8? Against Qatar, you probably saw Darwin and Alex opening to create the 3v2. So we had 2 6s. I think the goal we score, the one with 26 passes, Darwin opens up in the 3v2 to open them up. And that's kind of what starts the final part of that play. So, it's credit to the players because they're picking that up pretty fast, right? We're walking through it because there's a lot of recovery. So we're basically walking through these things with them of kind of what they're going to see, how Qatar's going to press, who we want to pull out, where we want to put numbers. Players do it. And they, you can't really, it's not set. It's just fluid, right? And the players have to make the right decisions. That's all it is.
Okay. And now in terms of the player pool from El Salvador, because I feel like there are so many, there have been and have and are so many options in the mid. How are you handling that pool in terms of, what squad you're taking to which games, who's on the fringe, who do you stay in touch with, who do you bring in so that they can get up to speed too on the style that you guys are implementing, even if they're not necessarily, the day-to-day during the Octavo Nine.
These games we're about to play, it's what they're for, right? We need to see the National League guys in El Salvador more, be able to work with them. Again, this is moving so fast that it's hard to kind of, build a Gold Cup team that we want to win it, right? We could have said, we're just going to try to play. No, we want to win, right? So now we're building this coming trip, right? That we have a week with them. We're probably going to be able to see new players, see some of the younger guys, because at the same time, it's still a 2026 cycle, right? This is still really, we want to prepare our 2016 very well. So we still want to see a Danny Rios come in, right? We still want to see Damian from the Quakes come in as a goalkeeper. You still want to see those players, Garay, who just signed with DC United, and see how they handle the group. I think what we feel comfortable with is that we know that the guys here in the academy system, they've grown up kind of doing what we're doing now, right? So the crash course is less. In El Salvador, the work might be different, and we're not, we don't really know how they grew up, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old, 17-year-old, what the methodology was, what the style of play was, what their individual development plans were like, if there were any. So you have to use this time to kind of, work with them, right? So let's, even Narciso, I think he took maybe a couple games to really kind of but understand what we were expecting, right? Diagonal lines, where with the balls here, where we want them, what that positioning looks like, what his zone looks like. But the talent is there where they're the ones really going through this and picking it up, right? A Heidel, Enriquez, right? Who now we're giving him more space. Probably, he's finding more 1v1s. So now, with this week coming up, we're able to see more guys, bring new players in, and then maybe they're not in September, but maybe they're in October, right? Maybe it's, hey, this piece was good. Let's see him again mid-September, right? Let's bring him in twice a week, since we're working with the league, and then maybe have him ready by October. So that's, I think, how we're going to approach the player pool right
now. That sounds good. Let's see, and then the last bit, you mentioned on Twitter about the whole fiasco with the VAR not having juice. How can you walk me through that whole situation? Because it's not surprising considering what all of us Salvadoran fans have seen CONCACAF do, not just El Salvador, because that's victimization, but in general, how things are handled by CONCACAF. Could you walk us through what happened there?
Yeah, look, I think I took a tweet down because I didn't want to get in trouble or get us.
If you don't want to talk, if you don't want to be on the pod, I can omit it. It's fine.
Let's keep it basic. Basically, we had the VAR against us for the penalty. I don't think it was a penalty, right? Every rule I see says hits the leg, arm, shouldn't be a penalty. VAR looked at it, fine, it's done. I think the offside. Two ways I interpret the rules with what the referees gave us in before the games in CONCACAF or the Gold Cup. The linesman, the AR. I want to be respectful to them, right? They're not called linesmen anymore. The assistant referee kept this flag down during the play. So if he keeps his flag down, he's keeping it down because VAR will review if it was offside or not, right? Especially if it ends up in a goal. It ends up in a goal. There's no VAR check. Flag goes up after the goal's been scored. Then the offside is called. Naturally, when I see that in every league, it's going to VAR because the referee, if he raises his flag early, like Trinidad and Tobago against Mexico, flag was lifted early, no VAR, because he was 100% sure. Because he keeps the flag down and the play continues, it automatically, from what we interpret or I interpret as the rule when I got the CONCACAF status down for a Zoom, actually, there was a referee that came to the hotel to give us how VAR worked. There was supposed to be a VAR check. No VAR check. I found it odd. Could have been offside. I thought maybe he was off. I looked at the replay. If he keeps his flag down, there's no lines like the Premier League, right? So it could be subject to interpretation. And, right, it has to be proven beyond the benefit of a doubt, right? The referee. So maybe, I don't know. I thought the goal U.S. scores, Marlon Roberts, I thought his head was just as much ahead as Joaquin's head in the goal. No VAR check on either. Okay. Then Joaquin's volley. Little chicken wing there. My natural inclination is you're going to check it again, right? Just to be sure. And the fourth ref just said the power went out at the VAR. And I said, come on, dude, you're not serious. He said, the power's out. We can't check it. So the only thing I said was, if it's out, wouldn't we stop the game until power? When you found out power was out, I think the game should stop because VAR was already used on one side. So it should stop until the power is back on. The whole stadium looked lit. I'm not saying it wasn't true. I just said my thing was if we knew the power was out, we should have just stopped the game until
any
VAR
glitch
came back
going on. Yeah.
And just stop it. Right, referee stops the game.
So they're on site, just to clarify, because you know how like in baseball they're out in New York whenever they do. They're in stadium. They're in house then.
They're in house. No. Yeah, we knew they were in house, but that's why I thought. I'm not saying. I'm just saying if VAR did go out, then stop the game until we get it back, so that in case there's a play that we might need, which happened in the 89th minute, I think. And I don't even know if it's a handball. I didn't see enough replays. I've been looking for couple different feeds. There's a leg and there's an arm. It could have hit his leg, but
it was definitely reviewable. Yeah, definitely.
That's what VAR's for, just to look at it and just to be 100% sure, especially if we had one on the other end.
For sure.
So that was my only comment, but
it's all good.
The referee's job is tough, so I don't pretend to be a good ref.
For sure. All right, then really quick, the third kit. Is it black or navy blue? Because I can't tell from the photos.
It's a navy blue with a hint of gray.
I like. All right.
It's a navy blue with a hint of gray.
For the record, because there's been like some debate online in terms of what the actual color was. All right.
No, it's a navy blue with a hint of gray.
And so you liked it, right? Because you were rocking it on one of the matches. It looks pretty cool.
Everybody wanted one.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think the fans need to put pressure that we use it for one of the games now.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to get one of my tias to buy it in El Salvador because it's cheaper than buying it out here.
Yeah, it's $90 here, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think it'll be like 50 or 60 over there.
It's 49. They told me over there.
Okay.
I think the gold emblem with gold numbers and gold name, I think would really market the national team to. I've had Mexican people ask me for the jersey. Let me put it that way.
Oh,
right.
No, there's definitely closeted, uncloseted Mexican Salvadoran fans out there for sure.
No, I've had full Mexican fans ask me for the jersey.
Nice.
100%. So that's
not caramelo though, probably, right?
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thanks a lot for chatting with us. I know the U20 work starts soon. You're in the process of heading out to El Salvador for the job. You guys start competing in October. Is that when you guys have activity?
I think it got canceled again from the last thing I heard because of what happened with Curaçao at the Gold Cup with all the positive COVID cases. I think they're moving it again. So I think it'll give us a little bit more time in the 20s, but also at the same time, help us focus with the men's side right now as we get through the octagonal.
For sure. Well, you'll have your hands full then. Best of luck. Thanks again for chatting with us. And hopefully next time Hugo can be around because he was busy with family stuff right now. And hopefully we can chat at some point during the process or the octagonal. I know you guys will be really busy, but it'd be really cool to catch up with you once you're in El Salvador. No problem. Let's do it. Just send me a message. You have my number now. All right, cool. Thanks, man. Well, that was it, folks. What a great interview, Andres. I really, really enjoyed
listening to the interview. I wish I had been there. There are many points that he brings up that are in alignment with some of the observations that I've had throughout the years. Before I go into those, I think it's great to see that El Salvador coaching staff, youth squads, is gaining someone with a lot of experience in the development academy system in the United States, which obviously has paid off when we see that the U.S. just became the Gold Cup champion with a B/C squad. To see that the U.S. now has 3 teams basically that can compete at CONCACAF level. And that's a big part a result of the youth system, the academy system in the United States. So having someone who can implement some of those factors, some of those ideas, some of those methods that have worked in the U.S. in El Salvador, I think it's a great asset for El Salvador to have. And then the other points that I really enjoy hearing from him, that maybe I've talked about it, that we talked about it, but I think he was able to convey it in a very clear way, that the players that are born in the United States, the Salvadorian culture is not foreign to them. So it's like we identify. I was born in El Salvador, but friends that I have that were born here, you don't necessarily identify yourself as an American, even though you have respect for the country. And I myself have a lot of respect for this country. And I have said it in this show that when there's a World Cup and the U.S. is doing well, I support the U.S. and I go for the U.S. because this is where I live. And I enjoy seeing that. But going back to his point, when someone asks you where you're from, you're Salvadorian, regardless of whether you were born in LA or if you were born in Santa Ana, El Salvador, you're Salvadorian. And when people tell you, oh yeah, what part of Mexico you're from, we actually don't like that, because we have a sense of pride of who we are and where our roots come from. So I think that's important for people to understand that this Salvi American players that are joining the national team, they have a sense of national pride just as much as the ones who were born in El Salvador. And I think that's important to know. And I think Jerson made a great point to that. And then the other point that I have mentioned previously that he brought up that I think is highly valuable is that in the past, and I don't want to say everything has changed now and everything's wonderful, but we're starting to see glimpses of that mentality shift. That in the past, we would see interviews of players prior to a competition. And the whole tone was like, we'll see, vamos a tratar de hacer las cosas de la mejor manera. And we're going to try to do the best we can. But it was never like, we have prepared ourselves to win, so therefore we're going to do our best to win. And I think that is a big shift in mentality that I have noticed, because I've seen throughout the years, and it was almost sad to see that there was like that lack of commitment to saying we're going to go all out and win this game. It was more like, I'm going to keep it safe. Vamos a tratar de hacer las cosas de la mejor manera y a ver qué pasa.
That's like the slogan for so many years is like those words right there.
Yes. So I think that's key, that the players, that mentality of positivity and believing in yourself before you go out on that pitch is starting to get engraved in those players' minds. That is going to make a difference. Yes, there are many factors, but I think that's going to make a huge difference in the way our team performs. And I think we got to see some of that when we played against Mexico, when we played against Qatar. And yes, we made some mistakes early in the game, But to come back from a 3-0 takes a lot of mental strength and courage. And I think the team showed that shift in mentality is starting to take place in the national team. And we're seeing that, and Gerson made reference to that. And I'm glad he said that, because I was like, okay, great. I'm not the only one observing that, but it's actually something the coaching staff is working with, and it's showing.
Yeah, right now I have like a GIF of Tamacas sliding through the box, making the tackle like on repeat, on loop right now. But yeah, that was something that was pretty impressive, because like you mentioned, this isn't something that we've seen before in that respect, that you hear this air of confidence. It's not arrogance. It's just changing the mentality of believing that you can get that result, that as a fan throughout all these years, I can't say that, I've seen or heard that type of mentality, other than when we go play the Islands for the early rounds of qualifiers. Then the fans, expect, oh, we're going to, wreck these guys. But other than that, I haven't really seen that mentality of going out and having that confidence, other than, let's say, moments of the De Los Cobos first stint. I think there was this air of belief once we started getting those results against the bigger countries in the area. But there wasn't ever that confidence of, we're going to go out there and win. Like, that's the objective here, not to see what happens. Like, we've worked to win. And I think that's the main thing to walk away from that interview. And it's duly appreciated, because that mistake by Darwin was minute and a half into the game. And in other times, the team would have completely collapsed. So like, everything that the coaching staff worked on, everything that the team worked on in training would have been all out the door. Butterflies, angst, pressure, anxiety would have kicked in, and then things would have been a lot different. So you do see how that confidence, or through that, you're seeing a shift in mentality. Granted, it's not as instant as you would like it, but it's happening. And I think my biggest takeaway from the Gold Cup is, despite being in an adverse situation, seeing the team make a change in mentality, whether it was at halftime or, okay, the second goal fell against Qatar, the third goal, but they kept attacking. And Hugo Perez mentioned it himself, that, we need to make that transition. We need to collect ourselves and make that transition quicker. We can't wait till halftime to do it. And I think that'll be the next step of seeing the mentality of this team, is if they're able to recuperate in a shorter span of time. And speaking of time, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's just about it for us. We thank you again. I know it took us a little while to get this episode out, but there's just so much to talk about. We will be back, considering that there are 2 friendlies scheduled for the end of this month. So we'll be in the process of seeing if we can get any guests on that. And we'll see if there's a possibility of Hugo and I finally meeting up. It's been a while since that, and maybe we can bring some content being, P to P rather than via Zoom. So heads up on that, ladies and gentlemen. And hopefully we get to see you guys out at that friendly, at least in Los Angeles, against Costa Rica, which would be on the 21st. Then I know there's a friendly scheduled against Venezuela and for the 27th out in DC. I don't think I can
pending
make that
confirmation.
¿Qué pasó?
Pending confirmation. The second one against Venezuela is still waiting to be confirmed.
Okay, so we're still waiting on that, but it would be great to see if that second one gets written in ink. That way the coaching staff has more time to check out some of the domestic players, as Justin mentioned in the interview. Again, thank you so much. Really quick, wanted to shout out some of the YouTube listeners that have been interacting with us. A shout out to Miguel Moran. Thank you for commenting always. Mark Valle, Jorge Rivera, Luis Alegría, Jose Garcia. So thanks again, everybody. We'll be back soon. Remember, this is the Corner Blue. Remember to like, subscribe, follow, mention us to any Salvi friends out there. Good luck getting your hands on that third kit. It looks so clean. Tia, I hope you're listening because I need one. In any case, I'm Andres Rico. I got Hugo Alvarado here with me. Thanks again for listening to the Corner Blue, and we'll catch you guys next time.